welcome to Living Magically with Michelle Orwick. I'm your host, and this is where we talk about this week's astrological and energy imprints for how you can lead your dream life, how you can magically transform your energy to be in alignment with your future potential. And this is something that I've been looking at, the energy of the wheel of the year, the energy of astrology for literally years. When I realized you could really connect with your soul's choice was actually on a Gemini full moon many years ago, probably at the early 2001 or 2002. There was a Gemini moon just like this where I took an astrology class and I was like, you've got to be kidding. Because I always thought it was predestined, that anything in astrology was basically you had to live it out, like fate. What was super cool for me to realize 20 years ago is that astrology creates a choice. There is the highest timeline and a lower timeline. There's potential in astrology. Essentially, there's life lessons, energies, and availability. And with everything that's astrological, you can choose how you're going to align with it. So when you're aligning to you and your highest frequency and your highest vibration, this could either be choosing to stress or choosing to create. And so that's what Gemini is all about. We have a Gemini full moon. It's already happened. It actually happened yesterday on Sunday, but at 4 a.m. this morning. So technically this morning at its peak Eastern Standard Time, but you're going to have the ramification of this full moon for 3 more days. Is a perfect time for weeding out the choices you have made that you no longer want. We're in a Mercury shadow period, which means Mercury's gonna go retrograde in less than 2 weeks. And when that happens, we all know that that is a rough time for communication, a rough time for electronics. But what it is a good time, and it has already started, is it's a great time to review. So in a way, I love Mercury retrograde being at the end of a calendar year. This gives us an opportunity to look at how do I realign to my true goals? How do I realign to my true sense of purpose? How do I realign to my real deep desires and dreams? Because a lot of times we're swept away with life happening to us instead of recognizing that choice is a tool. And so Gemini is all about the mind. It's an air sign, it's a dual sign, the twins. And so we're looking at any kind of dualities, light to dark, masculine to feminine. A lot of people look at this as a great time to be manifesting a soulmate or community or anyone you want to be in shared relationship for. And I wouldn't disagree. What I would look at though, especially with its placement with this immediately coming Mercury retrograde, is that I think it's a time to review your relationships. It's a time to see, how do I choose to show up better in my relationships? How do I choose whether this relationship is thriving? How do I choose to be the better version of me? Because the other thing that kind of happens between Thanksgiving and Christmas every year, or New Year's, or whatever seasonal holiday you're going to be celebrating, is that we look at Thanksgiving as sort of as this harvest holiday where we're in review and gratitude. And that starts the review for the first of the year. And 2024 is a potentially magnificent year. It's an 8-year. And when we look at the energy of that, there is an infinite amount of possibilities. What creates that possibility is your willingness to choose and to choose for you. The problem is through shame, often we are shamed or guilted into choosing for our friends, our families, our partners, or even society. The other problem is that we don't choose out of procrastination, which is fear. So we get all caught up in our mind, which is a very Gemini thing to do, right? Is that we start reviewing so much that we're not in action. And so procrastination is not usually about you don't know how to do it. It's usually about some fear of failure. If you thought you could do it perfectly, and that's what we're taught right now in current society, and especially when most of us were children, we're taught that don't do it if you can't do it right. Do your best, but basically your best isn't even good enough. And so we're made to feel not enough, not good enough. And so we'd rather not do it than to do it wrong. And that is the antithesis of the creative process. The creative process is experimentation, creativity. Sometimes you're going to make a beautiful painting, and sometimes you're going to be like, eh. Sometimes you're going to put something into motion, and you're going to be like, eh. And I would rather you choose something and move on it and have it not be perfect than to choose nothing or to choose and be in stinted relationship with it, where you're afraid of your own success or afraid of your own failure. Either way, not doing becomes the act of procrastination. And sometimes we think it's going to be too hard. Sometimes we're afraid of what someone else might think. Sometimes we just don't think we're worthy or we're good enough. And here I am on this moment, this precipice of 2024, the year of the dragon. And I am here to share with you my favorite tool for moving forward when there might be a little fear or there might be a little bit of trepidation. And this is the energy, because we're going to be coming off this potent full moon. And so there's going to be a lag, usually when we're in a dark period of time that is also the dark moon. So winter solstice is coming up in the middle of December on the 22nd. And when that happens, it's the darkest night. We've already had the time change, so it's already darker earlier. So we're in this place where we don't have as much light, and we have this inward motion. And then the moon brings about light, full moon, illumination. It brings some clarity, and it shines light onto what we're working on. So use this for clarity. So this 3 days following the full moon is a grand time to be looking for clarity, looking for information, looking for how you really feel, what you desire, what you want, what is in alignment, and what, when you're choosing to move forward with your purpose and with your potential, what is possible. So that's the potency of these 3 days. But it is a disseminating full moon. So we're going into the 2 weeks before the next new moon, where it is less and less moon in the sky. So it's darker and darker. So it'll really, in some ways, be part of the darkest part of the entire year. Shortest nights, with the least amount of moon. That asks us to go inward with these hours. That asks us to look at our questions even deeper. It asks us to bring the wellspring of our courage to the forefront. And so I really think this is a season of courage. Right now, what have you learned in 2023 or earlier? Where are you right now that is making you want to choose for you? And I really think that that's the key here to true contentment, is to choose for you whether you quote unquote succeed or fail, and you put into motion and action whether it's perfection or imperfection, and that you strive for clarity and communication and compassion rather than perfection. And this moves us out of procrastination and into momentum. And this is a great time to purify and let go of things that are not serving you. But it is actually a really good time to just be in trial and error. If you don't know, just be. If you are unsure, then just allow. But most of the time, we actually know what we want, and we're just too afraid or too tired or without inertia or fear of somebody else poo-pooing what we're doing. And now is the time. This is a lead in. We're in Sagittarius season now. And Sagittarius is outward. It's gregarious. It is open and expressive. So this is the potency of that fire actually fueling your desires. So we are going into a season where it's the fire is flamed by this Mercury energy. It's flaming this full moon. It's illuminating, and it is shedding light on our desire. And it's going to be a really lovely month. We've come off of, some eclipse season. It was intense to say the least. But this month, as we come into December, we're actually in a lovely, lovely relationship and harmony with the astrology and with the energy. So this is where we're talking about potential. There's a timeline that is allowing you to be your greatest in 2024. Everyone has it. There's many, many paths out there for you to make choices. And sometimes it's as simple as making the choice and sitting with it in meditation. This is why we spend some time in review at the end of the year. Maybe you look at the pictures from 2023 and do a year in review. Maybe you journal about your successes, your failures, and reassess. This is a great time for that. Maybe you start journaling about your goals for 2024 or your dreams. Some people like to create a word or a vision board. These are all really beautiful energies that can be used right now. So much so that I personally have been spending time in the Akashic Records. I love using the Akashic Records to see what is in my future, what is a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. And so I am offering that Akashic Record class in December over a weekend. It's usually an all-day Saturday, all-day Sunday, but it is completely online. So you can review, what is your soul calling you to do? How can you be proud of yourself at the end of next year? And for me, that is knowing that I put forward my truth, that I put forward my heart, that I showed up and played full out. It doesn't matter if I'm perfect. For me, it is always about, did I play with my heart? And I encourage you to see what is in your heart. And if it is still in resentment for the past, or it is still in connecting to the past, bitterness, rejection, regret. And most of us by this point are in some elevated emotion, but there's just like these niggly bits that hit us. It's time to really purify that and imagine, use this fire energy of Sagittarius to burn it away. I will actually do a bonfire over the next couple of weeks to burn away old journals, burn away anything that is no longer serving me. But you can do this as an imagination. You can actually go into the field and imagine a violet flame, or some people use a blue flame. I like violet. To me, the flame of transformation has this violet purple energy. It's got a little bit of flecks of blue, a little bit of sparkly white light, a little bit of flecks of gold. And I can just imagine it clearing the energy field, clearing away negative group consciousness, clearing away my fears. And I will place metaphorically and energetically my past concerns, my current concerns, my resentment, my rejections, my regrets, anything that is no longer in alignment with this choice point that I'm making going forward. And by choice, sometimes you're making a choice of what you're going to do, and sometimes it's a choice of things you're no longer going to do. And sometimes it's a choice of, I really want to do this, but not yet. So that isn't procrastination. I want to be really clear with aligned action at the right timing. So you might need to do something before you do something else, or you might know that you need to put effort and energy into something before you do something else. So, if you're looking to maybe get debt free, you might decide, I'm going to choose not to put this trip into 2024. I'm going to pay my debt down, and I choose to be on a trip in 2025. So that's more about arranging and designing your life. Procrastination for me is, I really want this and I'm not going to make any effort. I'm not going to calendar it. I'm just going to put it out there that it'll happen at the right time. And I really will say that when we do that, sometimes it's easy, but most of the time it's just an energy of putting off. If you have a soul aligned desire, choose for you to just put it on a calendar, make a simple action step toward it. And that's what I call actioning it versus procrastinating it. So I just wanted to explain the difference, because I know with the Gemini mindset, we can be all over the place. And right now we're getting dreams, we're getting visions, we're getting downloads from the universe, and we're going to have those for the rest of December. Even though this is the full moon, we're a little bit away from the equinox. Right now, I believe that most people are getting these divine guidances. You're actually getting messages from the Akashic records, getting messages from your higher self, getting messages from your future self, and maybe even messages from outer beings that are leading you, because we're at such a potent time on earth. We're making the next version of us. We're we're trajectory toward the golden age of Earth. And those of us who are moving to the 5D timeline, that are moving to the joy timeline, that are moving to the peace timeline, we have to make peace our priority in our hearts. We may need to make love and compassion as a lifestyle in our room, and we need to be kind and yet actionable to be able to have the existence we desire and dream of. And so that's actually a doing and a being at the same time. We must be, do, and experience in alignment with our higher self instead of in alignment with our fears. And it's easy to fall into procrastination and fear. And right now, there's so much beautiful, glorious energy coming in from the universal support, from your angels, your guides, and divine beings of all sorts to remind you how divine you really are right now. And so if you're getting spontaneous dreams, visions, downloads, feelings, illuminations, that is part of the energy. And I expect that to be all of this week into the next week, all the way to the new moon, because that new moon that we'll have a little bit later in December, around, I think it's the 12th or the 13th, when that comes up in 2 weeks, we will have one of a series of 5 new beginning moons. It's going to be in a really good space for us to anchor in that dream life we want. The first 5 moons, one in December and the first 4 of 2024, will all be extra potent for fresh beginnings and new starts. So know that that is on the horizon. And if you're like, I want to change everything, you are in alignment with your truth. But create a plan of how you want to go about that and how you want to encourage that in your own heart and in your own soul. This is a time to plan. This is a time to take action. This is a time to create that with big heart, big mind, and big soul. I invite you to come see me if you're in Orlando, Florida. We're going to be doing a beautiful oils temple on the 20th of December. So if this is something that you want to experience, the Bloom Temple Egyptian oils, some fantastic sound healing from Patrick, and a 12/20 solstice activation from me live and in person. Put that on your calendar now. It's going to be at 7 o'clock on the 20th in Altamont Springs at the Center Place for the Heart. So if that is something you've wanted to do, maybe you've been to one of my oils temples, or you've never been to one of my oils temples and it would be something you want to do, go ahead and mark your calendar now. And remember this week, live magically, live in alignment, and choose for you. Choose your heart, your dreams, your desires, and choose it with compassion and love. And I'll see you again next week.